You're listening to the actual sounds of a desperate call for help.
Roger, yeah, we're still probably 30 miles from Mount Washington.
It was December 4th, 2022.
Repeat your question. I heard something I couldn't quite copy.
Ham radio operator Derek Flint had his radio on.
It's like it was yesterday. It was one of those amazing things.
When he heard something unusual in the static.
This is KC1 QXL. I'm here. There's still no audio.
What he didn't know, there were two men stranded in northern New Hampshire, and those radios were about to save their lives.
When we got there, the conditions were snowy, but not icy.
On that fateful morning, Nick Lang of Plastow and his friend Ben were driving around Pittsburgh, New Hampshire, a place he'd been many times. Nick was prepared. He happens to be an emergency response volunteer and licensed ham radio operator.
So my call sign is KC1OTX. That's Kilo Charlie 1 Oscar Tango X-ray.
He packed a small handheld radio for his trip.
So this is the radio I had, and I put it in my car as a last-minute thing.
He'd need it when the conditions on a remote road turned very icy.
As soon as the traction control kicked on, that's when I decided it was time to turn around. And when I turned around is when everything kind of went wrong.
The car started sliding.
We ended up spinning 3 complete times, the full 360.
Hanging over an embankment, Nick couldn't open his door. So Ben got out to secure the car with rope so it wouldn't slide more.
He was cranking it, and the hook snapped and launched across the road and smashed his kneecap.
Ben was injured. The car was stuck, and there was no cell service to call for help. So Nick climbed to higher ground to see if anyone could hear him on his ham radio.
I was saying my call sign. I was saying SOS. I was saying 911. I was saying emergency.
He was in luck. The Mount Washington repeater, kind of like a cell tower for ham radio, picked up his call so other operators could hear it, like Derek Flint, some 54 miles from Mount Washington in Vermont. Derek is visually impaired and fell in love with radio only months before. Now, he was thrown into a radio-driven rescue.
I was over there for like a half an hour trying to get something, and what ended up happening was I ended up getting him to say like 911.
Yeah, that was a harder copy that time, but I didn't copy that your vehicle went off the road into a ditch, I believe you said.
At the time, I couldn't hear their complete call sign, but I heard somebody, and that gave me hope.
By now, another radio op, Roger Marcoux in Bartlett, was listening in.
W1XCJ from K1 DFA.
He, too, was trying to hear where the stranded men were through the static.
This is McGalloway Road, and we did get, syllable by syllable, we got that they're on McGalloway Road.
Finally, a location. 911 was called, but a rescue was still hours away.
Assume there's 2 people in there now, potentially. I know one of the firefighters is going to try the ham radio side, but I'm not sure if he's out there or not.
Back in Vermont, Derek could barely hear updates from the men stuck in Pittsburgh.
So at this point, we'll just do this since your signal's horrible.
A code system with no words.
I have to do 1 ka-chunk for yes and nothing for no.
Ka-chunk meaning press the talk button. And it worked.
We thought we heard him say icy, and then we said, did you say icy? And then they said yes, and they said, so we're assuming icy road. Did you go off the road? And then they clicked yes, they went off the road.
While Roger and Derek waited anxiously for about 3 hours, they finally heard rescue crews arrived. Ben and Nick were safe. The guys breathed a sigh of relief.
Well, thank you very much for all the help today, Roger. It was an amazing thing we did. And hopefully we don't have to do it anytime soon.
The guy goes, "Thank you. Thank you very much for saving my life today." So that said it all right there. I mean, it was pretty serious on their end for sure. So.
Thank you. Thank you very much for saving my life today. I'm glad you guys made it out okay.
It definitely, I feel as though they saved our lives for sure. AC1 OTX radio check.
Nick says the lesson in all of this, cell phones can be limited. They hope others learn ham radio can be a lifesaver. That and better traction.
I definitely have gone out and gotten snow tires since.